Talking Gators here, the voice of college football. Of course, we got David Waters on the line from Gators Breakdown. They're right here on YouTube and also on your favorite audio platform, Gators Breakdown. David, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, Mark. Good, Mark. Florida, A&M, not the game. I think when we kicked this season off, I mean, you might have had Florida 4-4. Some people probably did at this point, but I don't think we had Texas A&M at 3-5.
No. Certainly those AP pollsters didn't, because they were preseason number 7, I believe.
Yeah, 6 or 7, yeah.
6 or 7. All right. Well, yeah, the college football rankings that we saw unveiled on Tuesday night, nowhere close to touching these two teams, but still a lot of talent on the field, and Billy Napier building something at Florida. And of course, Jimbo Fisher should have built something a long time ago, working on 5 years. So still waiting for that. But anyway, let's focus on the Florida side. And if you'll forgive me, David, I was out at 28-3.
Yeah.
trying to watch everything. So I was out at 28-3, but and then I saw 28-20 on the bottom line. I'm like, okay, I'm going to check this out. Hey,
I don't blame you. A lot of Gator fans checked out too in that stadium on Saturday when Georgia was up 28-3 at halftime. And then Florida forced some turnovers and got back in it there in the third quarter and made a game of it there. 28-20, as you said, was Georgia, and then Georgia kind of just put their foot back down, started running the ball. Didn't even allow Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett was, off and on that game, and then that third quarter had a pretty bad third quarter. Georgia pretty much settled down and said, okay, offensive coordinator Tom Logan said, let's just go out there and run the ball. They ran the ball over Florida, and that's pretty much the game right there. Georgia or Florida's defense causing some turnovers. And as bad as they've been, Florida, like 36 in the country, I believe, in interceptions and stuff. So as bad as this defense has been, they've been able to create some turnovers this year, and that's what got them back in the game versus Georgia. But Mark, no surprise. I mean, I almost nailed it last week on Gators Breakdown. I picked 42-20 final, and it was 40, or I picked 41-20 final, and it was 42-20. So pretty much right on it. But Mark, it was just, Florida has a bad defense. They weren't going to miraculously fix that in a bye week, going against the number one team in the country. And the offense is inconsistent with Anthony Richardson. There were plays to be made. There were open receivers, but Georgia's pressure up front, I think, was just too much there for this Gator offensive line, too much for Anthony Richardson. Couldn't really get the ground game going either. For as good as the ground game is for Florida, I didn't think they'd be having a whole lot of success versus Georgia. So game went about like I thought it would, Mark.
Talking Gators with David Waters from Gators Breakdown right here on YouTube and your favorite audio platform. So you touched upon some of the good that can be taken from this game, but really projecting it forward, not just to this season, but beyond. What are the pillars that Billy Napier can build on going into 23?
That's a good question, Mark. I mean, Florida sits at 4-4 right now, and I probably could answer this. I mean, look, the schedule eases up these last 4 games. You got Texas A&M, you got South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Florida State. We're probably going to learn more about this Gator team these last 4 games of the season than we have recently. These are games that are winnable. Now, don't get me wrong, LSU was winnable a couple games ago as well. Georgia, you weren't going to win that game. But now this is a time where a lot of the fan base, Mark, wants to see progress. So I think it's progress going into this last month of the season and trying to take some positive momentum into next year. Of course, recruiting goes to that too. But if we're just talking strictly on the field, I think you're looking at finishing this season on a high note. First of all, at least getting bowl eligible. You got to get 2 victories here to get bowl eligible. Get those bowl practices for a pretty young team right now, and then I think laying the foundation, Mark. This Gator team, I think what you can take out of it. Look, there's no more victories. There's no more victories at the University of Florida. But as you mentioned, Mark, you checked out at 28-3. Florida gets back in the game. And we've seen that a lot from this Gator team. They got down big versus Tennessee. They found a way to come back and make a game of it. They got down big versus LSU. They found a way to fight back and make a game of it. So I think there are a lot of – we talked about accountability and it being issues under the last staff. Well, I think, the accountability for this Gator team, they don't quit. They want to play for each other. They want to play for their coaching staff. Eventually, that's going to have to turn into victories. But I do think, Mark, there is some, I think there is a good culture being built as far as caring about the people around you and not getting in that no quit attitude, and that's hopefully you think would pay off.
Trevor Etienne, small sample size with 11 carries, but we know what we saw out of him the rest of the season going into this game. You've been impressed with him, and almost 5 yards per carry against that defense. So he obviously did some good things.
Yeah, Mark, one of the biggest surprises for this Gator team, and it was a deep running back room coming into this season, or even going back to the spring as well. DeMarcus Bowman leaves, and that kind of left maybe some question going into fall camp, and then the first depth chart of the season comes out versus Utah, and most start Lorenzo Lingard was going to be that third running back behind Naquan Wright and Montrell Johnson to transfer from Louisiana, but it was Trevor Etienne, the true freshman, instead of Lorenzo Lingard, the former 5-star transfer from Miami. And he showed it right away versus Utah, and we've seen it each and every game since. So one of the bigger surprises, Mark, and you probably lead some credence there to identifying some talent there for Billy Napier. I think you got to go back and probably look at Mark, not just him. You bring him up, but I think to even extend that conversation a little bit, look at the best players on Florida's roster right now. So Cyrus Torrance, a transfer from Louisiana. It's Montrell Johnson, Trevor Etienne's fellow running back there from Louisiana, and a young player. Trevor Etienne, a true freshman there making plays. Some of the young guys on defense. We've seen Chris McClellan come along as well. So Billy Napier has done a good job in that first transition class, and those guys, a lot of those guys have stepped up. We'll see if we hear from even more of those guys, but on offense, it's been the Louisiana transfers. It's been Trevor Etienne. It's been Ricky Pearsall, the Arizona State transfer at receiver at times as well. So it's been a lot of new pieces that I think you can kind of point to give Billy Napier some credit there for identifying some talent, whether it be at his last stop and bringing it to Gainesville or the guys that he got in his transition class. But it starts with Trevor Etienne. He is made an instant impact, and he makes an impact week in and week out for this Gator offense.